I wouldn't say that anyone in my family was a huge Frank Sinatra fan, but I heard his music growing up from time to time. TV, movies, my grandparents might play a song here or there, or my parents. And I gotta be honest, I never saw what the big deal was. I didn't understand the hype. That is, until my sophomore year of college, when I experienced my first breakup. I was a late bloomer, what can I say? But then all of a sudden, I knew what Frank was talking about. That kind of knowledge, that's the kind of knowledge that the scriptures are talking about. When the scriptures speak of knowledge or wisdom, they basically never mean, well, here's a fun trivia fact that you can trot out at a party. Or, well, here's the right answer for the exam that you can write down. A little factoid. When the scriptures speak of knowledge or of wisdom, they're speaking about that kind of knowledge we get from life. The kind of knowledge that comes from real first-hand experience. The ability to recognize that in life there are going to be ups and downs, and knowing that, to be able to navigate it with some finesse, that's what the scriptures mean by wisdom, especially in the Old Testament. So when we hear this account from Genesis, that there is a tree of knowledge in the garden where God has settled the first human beings, this is what we need to understand. It's this kind of knowledge that's being spoken of. Now, I ask you, think back on your life. Think back on the experiences you have had where you've walked away saying, okay, now I get it. How many of them were painful? The majority of them, right? Those experiences when someone betrayed you or disappointed you, let you down. The experiences where you got ripped off in a deal or taken advantage of. Maybe an experience in a romance of being cheated on. Or an experience of someone in your life who tried to control you. You walked away from those experiences both with a wound, but also with a newfound knowledge, a deeper understanding, a little bit more savvy. And parents, how many of those such experiences, when you look at your children and you reflect on your own life, do you wish that you could somehow just remove from your brain and tattoo it into theirs so that they could have the benefit of all of your life experience without having to feel the pain? If we have that kind of a desire, how much more so must God have desired that for us? To impart to us a true vision of life, a true knowledge, a true wisdom to navigate it with its ups and its downs, to encounter one another with clear-sightedness, but without having to carry the baggage, without having to be wounded to gain that knowledge. In the story, we see the serpent insinuating himself into the relationship between God and humanity. enticing them to reach a little too far, to reach a little bit too soon for something they weren't quite yet ready for. And he does this by insinuating a kind of circumstance of competition, shall we say. Oh, God doesn't want you to do that because he knows as soon as you get that knowledge, well, you'll be like gods. Well, there is some truth in that. If you yourself were good at business because you had 3 businesses that failed or a couple of business partners who absconded with your money or ripped you off, would you want your children to become good at business too, just like you did? Or would you hope that somehow they could come to doing the right things, associating with the right people, without having to have that experience? I think most of us, when we look at our children or we look at people we love, we do want them to be like us in all of the good ways. We want to be able to impart to them our strengths, our talents, our intelligence, and we wish desperately sometimes that we could withhold from them having to inherit maybe our stubbornness, or our foolishness, or our tendency to fall in love too quickly or too easily, or to be too gullible or too trusting. How much more so then must the Lord have wanted this for humanity? If you've ever had that kind of desire in your heart towards someone you love, then you can begin to understand what it is that Jesus is doing in this experience he has over 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. We need to be able to deal with temptation. We need to be able to take our various appetites, our various desires, all of the things that look good and attractive to us, and put them in a proper place. But the tempter is always going to be there, trying to insinuate himself between us and God, even as he did here in the desert, between the eternal Son and the eternal Father. But the difference in what happens in Jesus versus what happened with our first parents is that Jesus doesn't fall for it. Jesus doesn't buy into that lie that he is somehow in competition with the Father, or that his existence should just be convenient or easy, or his growth be instantaneous. And so he faces down those temptations, and what is offered to us is a bond with him that is so close and so intimate that we get to share in all of the benefits of having faced down temptation without actually having to enter into one-on-one combat with the devil himself, ourselves. Through baptism, we are given a share in the very life of Jesus that is sealed by the power of the Holy Spirit in confirmation and nourished Mass after Mass with Jesus' own body, blood, soul, and divinity in our celebration of the Eucharist. Again, if you've ever looked at someone you've loved and wished that you could just impart to them all of the good stuff you had without all of the woundedness or all of the baggage, then you understand why God would offer such a gift. So in this time of Lent, our 40 days and 40 nights, where we set aside our own pursuits, where we create some distance between the fun and flashy things in this world that can distract us or, if we allow it, consume us. May we find ourselves emptied and purified, so that when we come to Easter this year, our hands, our hearts, even our minds will be so emptied that we will be free to receive the fullness of all of those gifts God wishes to give us. Peace be with all of you this day, and with all who love the Lord in simplicity of heart.